A Key Spouse is a volunteer that want to serve our airmen and their families. I think of a Key Spouse as someone with a servant's heart.
So I decided to be a Key Spouse in the very beginning because the first couple times my husband was deployed, we were active duty at an active duty base. I had plenty of people around me that were going through the same things. And then he went years without being in the military, rejoined the reserves here at Grissom, and we lived in another state. So when we did that, of course, myself, my children had no one around us that was going through the same things. And so I really felt like it was important to become a part of something that would help with people who don't have that in their immediate area.
When I decided that I wanted to do it, it was giving back, helping the base that has helped us so much and being a part of something that means so much to my husband.
So when my husband left, he told me, he said, now someone is going to be contacting you. They're part of the Key Spouse, and they're there to help you if you need anything. So then I got a call from Julie, and she was wonderful. She was so warm and inviting, and it just made me, the more she spoke, the more I wanted to, I want to be that person.
I believe the Key Spouse program at Grissom is vital and growing because we work together as a team and everyone has taken ownership in the program.
I think our program is so good because we are one giant military family.
When you have so many people that care for one another and care for everyone as a whole, just being that foundation, that's huge. And I think people are starting to open their eyes and see that, this is a great program.
My favorite part about being a Key Spouse is obviously getting to know the spouses and the family members and homecomings. That's the best part of anything. It's just being able to watch and like I said, be a part of those things and those moments in people's lives.
My biggest sense of pride is when you have a spouse that comes up to you and thanks you for calling their wife or husband, and their mom, their parent, whoever they listed on their sheet. I think to me that's the biggest, is when they come up to you at homecoming or even just at a cornhole event and say, hey, you called my wife, thank you.
Just helping people, whatever it is. I mean, just to see their faces and smiles.
Just serving outside of yourself, connection with airmen and their families, connection as a Key Spouse team. Everything about it makes me proud. I think that it brings people together and it's a way to really show that you love people and you care about them.
We want to help. We want to be a part of it. It's not just, you know, the military members here. You know, we are all one.
We've got a strong team that they're all in. They have that servant's heart and they're ready to serve. It's just, you know, an exciting time to see what, I mean, you can almost vision what's going to happen next. It's not going to end. It's just going to keep growing.
The military families, the military people are, with lack of a better term, a better class of people. I've only been involved since I met my fiance, and the people are just so nice, so sincere. For strangers to be as nice and respectful as everyone has been at Grissom Air Force Base, it's just, it warms my heart.
The Rambler Fitness Center is a state-of-the-art facility that was built in 2007. We have over 100 pieces of cardio equipment, over 110 pieces of weight equipment to include select rise and hammer strength, which is plate-loaded equipment. Fitness is important because it actually helps you mentally, physically, and spiritually. I think fitness plays a lot of roles. You have fitness and spirituality, which basically just makes you suitable for you to be able to accomplish that particular task. We have intramural sports programs, which covers softball, basketball, flag football, volleyball. Rambler Fitness Center, we get a lot of support from our leadership because it's a high-vis area, and I'm real proud to be able to say that I'm the Chief of Fitness and Sports here because of the support I get from our leadership. Flight chiefs, from our directors, to the general at the 502nd Air Base Wing. We get what we need to ensure that that war fighter and their families are taken care of, and we can offer another way of life for them.
So welcome to the fire. Welcome to the fire. Feel it burning through your veins as we walk up through the flame, getting higher.
I've been playing football since a kid, on and off the whole time. Wasn't my number one sport to play, but always something to do, just hanging out with the boys. You get to know a lot of different guys just through pickup sports in general, through all of them. Football specifically, it's a lot more tighter knit because, you know, it's dangerous. So you got to have your boys' backs and make sure everybody's safe and okay. So it's great as far as getting to know people and true camaraderie. I had no clue at all. When I found out, when I got to my first duty station, I found out about it. I was like, man, that's really cool. Because my friends in college and stuff, they talked about intramural sports, and I was like, dang, I really want to be a part of that. But then I got to the Air Force and found out I could be, so it was cool. At work, you get busy, and a lot of times you don't get to know the people that you're working with. So you get events like this with the sports and stuff where you get to come out and get to know each other, and it just makes for a better team all the way around through work and outside.
Welcome to the fire. 'Cause the bigger they are, the harder they fall. You build your fortress and I'll climb your walls. You got your armor, but I see your flaws. So welcome to the fire. I'm the one with the liar. Feel it burning through your veins as we're walking through the flames, getting higher. So welcome to the fire. Welcome to the fire. Feel it burning through your veins as we're walking through the flames, getting higher.
I'm Lieutenant Colonel Ryan Whitaker, the commander of 92nd Force Support Squadron at Fairchild Air Force Base. FSS is intertwined throughout the entire mission set, whether we are supporting the youth of our force, whether we are feeding them, sustaining them, whether we are the human resource function, whether we are the developmental force through our education centers, or we are mortuary or casualty of some of our fallen airmen. The support that Force Support gives to the mission is intertwined to every level. We feed, we lodge, and we have fitness recreation programs that our military members are wartime experts in feeding, lodging, and sustaining airmen in the Joint Force in deployed environment, but also practiced in the home station environment. One absolutely crucial operation that the Force Support Squadron has is watching after the children of our warfighters. Through our child development centers, our teen centers, our youth centers, and overall our child and youth programs, that is one of the critical enablers of the installation to function. Anybody who has access to Fairchild Air Force Base is available to participate in our morale, welfare, recreation programs, all things that we have whose essential purpose is to sustain and optimize the morale and the recreation of our airmen. If we consider every airman a weapon system, just like maintainers would work on, fix, have checklists for aircraft, we think the same thing about the human weapon system. And the airmen or our civilians, we see development and growth as a key ingredient, an essential aspect of fielding the human weapon system to the fight that we need. And I'm super proud of this squadron. This squadron makes challenges look easy. We feed off of obstacles that anything that's in front of us that gets in the way of us serving, sustaining, and supporting the Fairchild community, that's our fuel to get better, to get stronger, and overcome. Without Force Support Squadron, I don't think Team Fairchild gets its wheels off the ground.
I am an American Airman. I am a warrior. I have answered my nation's call. I am an American Airman. My mission is to fly, fight, and win. I am an American Airman, wingman, leader, warrior. I will never leave an airman behind. I will never falter, and I will not fail.
Welcome back to another Back and Forth, coming to you from the new studio. As promised, 2 weeks ago, we had one of our guests actually in the studio, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed that this show goes off without a hitch because there's a lot of moving pieces going on right now, but we're gonna do our best. So I'm Tech Sergeant Greg Cerny.
I'm Master Sergeant Holly Patterson. I know I don't need to lean in, but I just felt like being cool today.
She just wanted to do the thing with the microphone. They're new mics too.
They are.
I think they sound good. They're new cameras, so we're super
I feel
excited.
Fancy.
I also
you had to upgrade to keep me. That's
I did line you up with zero warning. I was like,
that's true.
I'm Cerny, and she's like, oh wait, that's my cue.
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay. Well, in case you don't know me, in case you haven't seen me, I'm Master Sergeant Holly Patterson. I'm on loan permanently.
I like that.
Until I get fired.
Sergeant Patterson has been standing in a couple times now, more often than not, for Sergeant Reed. And if you're a longtime fan of the show, you remember Sergeant Reed and I got this thing started as hosts, and then we've taken turns swapping out with Sergeant Patterson. But we're lucky to have her. She does a great job. So let's get into the show. Today, we are talking about all things inside the Air Force that aren't necessarily the Air Force part.
Right.
Support elements and stuff like that, but it's about the fun. It's about what else goes on that makes you more of who you are when you wear the uniform. So who are you when you are off work? What's it mean to be part of the Air Force family, and what kind of cool things do you have available to you? So with us today, we have a panel. I'm in charge. Check this out. I got this cool box thing with all these buttons on it.
Bad idea.
I'm in charge of changing the scenes this time, and I have to find that one.
Yep.
We've got some guests. I even pushed it the right time.
If anything goes wrong, you guys know it's his fault, not mine. Not mine. I got nothing. I don't know what to do with my hands.
I'll slide the selector over her next time. So joining us today, we have Jeff and Jeep from Outdoor Recreation. We have Mr. Phil Sell. He is the chief of the World Class Athletes Program and Air Force Sports representative as well. We have Wendy Cole. She's our Military and Family Readiness Center consultant. And we also have Captain Bauman. He is Air Force Personnel Center Force Support Officer. So we're going to give you guys each a chance to introduce yourselves, and we'll do a little bit of question and answer to let our family out there know who you are. And then we'll jump into everybody's favorite part of the show, where we do the question and answers, the back and forth. So just to remind you, when we get to that part of the show, everyone out there that's joining us online, make sure to put a Q in front of your comment so we know it's a question. It helps us cycle through them and filter out the questions from the comments, and we'll get to those as soon as we can. So let's go up to George and Jeep. Why don't you guys, oh, wait, no, Jeff and Jeep, not George and Jeep. Jeff and Jeep, why don't you guys introduce yourself? Tell us what you're bringing to the show today.
Sure. How's it going, guys? I'm Jeep Lynch. I'm the programmer at Lackland Outdoor Recreation Center. What I do is I put together, I organize, I think about all the awesome programs and opportunities we can take both on and off base to make sure that our airmen and their families are having as much fun as they can when they can, right?
Very cool.
My name is Chuck Carson. I'm director at Lackland Outdoor Recreation Center. I guess my primary focus is to make sure, one, I've got the right people in the positions to make these awesome programs happen. Make sure we've got equipment for our participants to come out and use, and make sure Outdoor Rec's meeting the needs of our community.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us today on the show. Thanks for introducing yourself. I've actually got a little bit of experience with Outdoor Rec, positive experience with Outdoor Rec. So I'm excited to see what questions and answers we get coming to you guys. Because, and I had no idea that something like Outdoor Rec existed when I joined the military. I just didn't know it was a resource I had access to. And then come to find out that there are so much. I mean, we're going to get into the good stuff, and if we don't, I'm just going to start doing story time. But I'm hoping somebody can bring some cool questions about that. But Mr. Philsell, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, good afternoon. I'm Mr. Dale Philsell. I work for the Department of Air Force Sports, but I also oversee the world-class athlete program. And within the Department of Air Force Sports, we oversee the we have a listing of sports that we have for the Air Force, but we also oversee the Air Force fitness centers, and we also have a higher level of sports as well. I'm also a retired Chief Master Sergeant. I served 30 years, and I was also a FSS superintendent, which is a lot of the areas that we're covering today. Happy to be on the show, and as you can tell, my daughter just put some comments across.
Yep.
So
yeah, some
awesome.
Fans out there. Yeah, we seem to always get some pretty high-profile guests. There's a lot of people that are on the show that they have a fan base already before they even show up, and it's awesome to see the love from the comments. So that's really cool to see. So FSS and a retired chief. First off, thanks for your service. Thanks for the 30 years.
Thanks.
Dad looks fit and strict. There you go. Yeah. That's what happens when you're a chief and you're an FSS.
Right?
But yeah, we should have plenty of experience here. Someone with a salute and a compliment.
Yeah, exactly.
Who cares who it is? That's perfect. All
I
right.
don't get compliments like that, so you're doing something right.
Right? I get strict sometimes, but that's just my kids. Wendy Cole, why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Well, hello, my name is Wendy Cole. Thank you for the invitation to be a part of the discussion today. I work at Randolph's Air Force Base, the Military and Family Readiness Center there. And we provide a whole bunch of different services, a vast array of services and things like employment or writing resumes. We help people transition out of the military, all kinds of services that I think we'll get a chance to talk about more. But it's great to be working across the JBSA and learn and talk with new people every single day.
Very cool. And I 100% agree. Family readiness is one of those things that's similar to the outdoor rec program that I had no idea the resources that were there. Mm-hmm. So Mr. Philsell will be back. He just jumped out for a second, so we're letting him back in. All right, Captain Bowman, you are up, sir. Why don't you introduce yourself to us?
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Captain Zach Bauman, Force Support Officer, which that was a cool video from Team Fairchild. I actually spent some time there. I know that commander. Pretty cool. I'm a customer of all things quality of life, but I'm also, in the career field that helps lead and manage all of these programs and policies that make life a little bit easier, a little bit more fun while serving in the military. And another fun fact, one of the co-founders of Air Force Gaming, which you might have heard of, but it's the Air Force's attempt to kind of curate a community of gamers across the Air and Space Force for intramurals, basically all the same things that sports does. They do it for esports as well. So love talking about that. Love this topic, and happy to be here.
Cool. What kind of just jumping out the gate with questions? But what kind of like popular game titles does Air Force Gaming participate in? Like, just give me like the top 2.
Yeah, I mean, we mirror the industry. So Call of Duty, League of Legends,
Nice.
Halo, Rocket League. We basically follow the industry. So
that's cool.
So awesome.
Very cool. Well,
Such
first
a good
off,
program.
shout out to all you guys for joining us. We appreciate you taking time out of your day and bringing your wealth of knowledge for all of our guests tuning in and all of our friends out there on the big land of the internet. And behind the scenes, and if anybody who's watched the show before, you know we pick on Major Lane for being Major Lane from the background.
Yes.
But he actually has his own camera this time, but he didn't give me the button for it. So
yeah,
I can't.
he's purposely didn't put it on his
Yeah,
so that he couldn't put him on TV.
He has the little box of buttons too, but I don't have the one that gets his face up there. So we're not gonna try to peer pressure him into going on the screen.
Definitely peer pressure him. I need all the comments to peer pressure Major Lane to be on TV.
There we go. I like it. But we do have a secret guest from the background who does have his own button. Tech Sergeant Keating is joining us from in here in the building. He's actually in the studio a couple doors down, so a couple of offices down the hallway. And he is going to represent recruiting service and answer any questions that you guys have in the comments for recruiting specific stuff. So Sergeant Patterson and myself are public affairs by career field. So our traditional experience while we work in recruiting is not as a recruiter, it's to handle broadcast stuff, like to put the show on and stuff like that, where Sergeant Keating has direct experience helping people get into the Air Force. So bring your recruiting questions to Sergeant Keating. And you also have some other experience in WCAP stuff, right?
Yes, I do. Not WCAP. I would like to apply for that someday, but I'm actually a member of the U.S. Air Force rifle team. So I compete in some of the international games, so 300 meters, Palma, small bore air rifle, and those.
I'm sure there are people out there that know what those words mean.
Right?
I'm like, look, I said I'm PA. I can turn a camera
Right?
on.
I think those words mean that's why he got the best air conditioning spot in the building.
That is definitely the best air conditioning spot. I advised him, I was like, that room can get so cold, you will probably want to open the door. So enjoy that. But anybody who wants to get those questions, we'll pop this screen up when Sergeant Keating has something to offer. We're running out of room on the front page for all of our guests, so we're going to get back over there. Thanks for hanging out with us, Sergeant Keating, and hopefully we'll see more of you during the show.
Absolutely, I'll be answering.
All right, thank you. All righty, so I've been talking for too long. Your turn.
I don't think you want me to talk. No, I'm just kidding. I hold all of these programs near and dear to my heart. I've been in 17 years now, and I've taken advantage of many of these programs. So I guess my first question, and any of you can answer this, is what is, or all of you could answer this, would be what is your favorite thing that you do, that you offer, that really just like brings joy to you being able to offer it?
So, I mean, I'll go ahead and answer the first one. So from our perspective within Air Force Sports, I think it just offers a great program to, number one, for the world-class athlete program. Again, that's my primary job. I'm here to try and recruit elite athletes to get them to the Olympics. We currently have 13 athletes in the program right now, some trying to get to the Summer Olympics next year, some trying to get to the Winter Olympics. But also within sports, at each base, you have your intramural sports, which if you were watching the video earlier, they kind of broke it down a little bit more. Not only intramural sports, but also the fitness centers. The fitness center I tried, even when I was active duty, I still currently do it. I use the fitness centers to continue to work out. So I think that brings a really great quality of life to whoever's interested in coming into the Air Force. And pretty much any base that you're stationed at, you're going to have a fitness center there for you to work out. It's no cost, and most of the equipment that's in there is the most current equipment that you're going to see at any local Lifetime Fitness or something like that. I also like the intramural sports as well. I participated in it when I was active duty. So there's a multiple part of that, and it's just a great way to relieve some of the stress from your daily grind during the day. And then after intramural sports, there's a possibility of moving on to what we call Air Force Sports, which is what we run here at the Department of Air Force. sports, and they have a variety of sports that you can try out for the Air Force team. And then from there, you move on to play in the Armed Forces tournaments, which is against the other branches of the service. So it's more of a bragging right. So, I mean, those are just different areas that that we offer, but also at your local base, those are some areas that I like to participate in, and just really helps me out too.
Cool. And I would definitely say that after 30 years of experience, you probably have a bit of passion for that. That's pretty awesome. Yeah. That's a lot of experience in sports. And you do, like the comment said, you do look pretty, I mean, you look like you've been doing sports for 30 years. You look pretty squared away, Chief. So nice job.
I try my
All right.
best.
Let's kick it over to Outdoor Rec. I want to give you guys a chance to shine because honestly, I feel like the pedestal that you guys are afforded needs to be bigger. And I want to make as much space as possible for you guys to just let people know that as soon as you get to your new base, as soon as you join the military, go talk to Outdoor Rec as like part of your in-processing, because every base has different cool perks and like depending on where you're at. So show off a little bit, a little show and tell for us.
That's right. Thank you for giving us that shout out. It's so true. No matter where you're at, you need to check out your local Outdoor Rec. Just because everyone is different, you know, a lot of it is based on the geography of your location. If you're near the Rockies, you're gonna have some awesome water skiing snow skiing opportunities. Whereas us here in Texas, you know, we don't have those snowy mountains, but we can sure take you water skiing. Every base is going to have something unique. Not only can you find awesome rental gear for any kind of camping or outdoor experience, we also offer stuff like sports equipment rentals, party rentals stuff. If you wanted to host a catering event, we have all that kind of stuff on hand, which you may not necessarily assume an outdoor recreation facility has. But we've got all that for rent. We've got programs that we love to take you off base, show you the locale of things. Maybe if you're new to town, you don't know that there are these outdoor activities within your area. But we also want to put on base events for those that can't leave base, or for those that like the convenience factor of not having to go out into the broader community, can kind of stay on base and still have something awesome and fun to do.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm going to key in on something you said there, because if I don't, the internet will. What do you mean when people can't leave base?
Sure. So some people that are just starting off or starting out in their military career are restricted to the base that they're at for a short period of time, right? And this differs between different people, whatever course they're at within their career. But there are some times when you're required to stay on, and other times when you can get off. Either way, we have activities for you.
Perfect.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking for. I knew what you were talking about. They call it phases when you're in tech school. And if your tech school is at the base that you're at, which typically your tech school will happen at a military base, you'll go through phases because you've just gotten out of basic military training, right? And you're now experiencing the first level of freedom where every single one of your daily movements isn't necessarily controlled by one person, your drill instructor or your TI. And now you kind of answer to a more collective group of military training or military training leaders, right? And then you have instructors that teach you your classes for basically like your accelerated college courses, which is effectively what your tech school is on the enlisted side. But during the first several months, you go through a phase program where you earn freedoms, like the ability to wear more than just your PT clothes. Like on the weekend, sometimes you have to wear your PT uniform until you get liberty to wear your civilian clothes. And then eventually you get permission to go off base, and they kind of reintroduce you back into your environment. And that's really cool because even as I believe that I'm pretty sure what you're saying, I've seen that before, where there are MWR opportunities or outdoor rec opportunities that are tailored to kids that are fairly new in the military, that just give them something to do that's still on base.
Yep.
And when these guys say that they've got stuff for rent, it's not like stuff for rent that you would think. Like the one that blew my mind was, so I race motorcycles, and before I bought my own enclosed trailer, I just happened to be driving past Outdoor Rec and saw that they had some enclosed trailers. So I popped in and was like, hey, how much do you guys charge to rent a trailer? Because I was about to go either buy one for $7,000 or $8,000, or I was going to go rent one for like $150 to $200 for the weekend. And they were like, well, it's $12.95 a day for the 12-foot. And I was like, what? That's enough to fit 3 motorcycles in.
Right.
I'll take it right now.
Yeah.
So it was just really, really cool to be able to see that they're able to offer that. They have like mountain bikes and all kinds of programs where they show you where to go ride your mountain bike, and you can rent the mountain bike there. They have kayaking equipment. They have, depending on where you're at location wise, they have things that are tailored to that environment and the outdoor sports that you can do in that area. And then there's like programs and schedules where they basically set up outings where you can go snowboarding as a group with other airmen, or you can go rock crawling, or all kinds of other cool outdoor adventures. And it's just really, really cool to see. So.
Yeah, and I'll jump in here a little bit too, not to take too much time on outdoor rec, but we're in Texas here, and I was actually stationed here. I'm at Randolph right now, but I was at Lackland before, about 10 years ago, and I have some core memories thanks to outdoor rec, because my daughter was very young, and we have Canyon Lake here, and there's actually a whole section of Canyon Lake that is separate that you have to be a military member to access. Yep. And we lived on base. We didn't have room to have a John boat or anything like that. And so we just went and took a quick class, got our boating license, and rented a John boat from Canyon Lake right there, and just spent the day out there boating, camping. There's cabins, there's everything. And then also there's opportunities where if your unit is hosting a function, I don't know if this is the same for every base, so please correct me, but if your unit is hosting an official function and you need a dunk tank or a popcorn maker, you just have to have your first sergeant say, like, yes, this is an official event, and you don't pay a rental fee to get those items. So that's pretty cool as well. So correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I've just got core memories from thanks to outdoor rec, really.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, you're correct on that one. It's called Unite funds, and each squadron is allocated a certain amount of funds to basically host exactly what you just said, Sergeant Patterson. So you're correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. That's it.
Awesome. Yeah, I hope more people ask questions, because I'd love you guys to get into specifics and
otherwise
stuff
I'll
that's
talk
available.
all day about all this stuff. You know, like I wanted to buy kayaks, didn't know if my family was going to like them, so I rented some from Outdoor Rec, took them out on the lake. They liked them. That showed me, hey, yeah, this is something I'm going to do all the time. And if I don't want to have the hassle of having my own kayaks, you can just rent them from Outdoor Rec. It's awesome.
Yep. So we mentioned programs and kind of that personal expertise that you'll find at Outdoor Rec. I know for a fact that the Airmen Family Readiness Center, they also have similar programs. You can go in there not even knowing what you are looking for and just have a question, and the people in there will be able to tell you what's available to you, and I promise you it'll blow your mind. Even if you don't use half the resources, you'll find out about so many things that can impact your life in a positive way. It's awesome. I know, Wendy, you've got the awesome privilege to be able to work in that capacity. So why don't you tell us what kind of things the Family Readiness Center offers to airmen on base?
So I think that's one of the greatest things. I'm glad you mentioned that. When people come to the Military and Family Readiness Center, when they're new to a base or new to the military, that's one of the best things that we can do is kind of a point of information and referral. So it's the conversations about what do you like, and it may be that they're looking for recreation, and then we can point them over to MWR, or it might be that they have a spouse that's looking for a job. We can talk about employment. There's a great thing we have called HeartLink. So when we have spouses come in, we can get them signed up for a class, and it gives them a tour of the base. And even if you've been in the military for a while, get to a new military base, it can give you some familiarity and tell you what's cool about that base, the history, or going to some little points on the base. And sometimes it's about referral to our community partners. So more love for MWR, but one of the cool things we do is there's the Exceptional Family Member Program, and we have our family services, but we work in collaboration with them. So they have something in the summer where they have an equestrian camp, and we'll go over to Fort Sam Houston and bring the kiddos out, and it's really great opportunity to involve the AFM kiddos, the Exceptional Family Member kiddos, and sometimes their siblings, to have some fun out on the horses, with the horses, just spending time and enjoying themselves.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you mentioned something there that we'll get into if we have specific questions on, but I do want to make a little quick note of, is the program, the EFMP program. It's called the Exceptional Family Member Program, and it's basically an entire division of Air Force support. I think, is it just Air Force or is it DOD? I don't remember.
They have similar programs across all services.
Okay.
So they may phrase it a little bit differently, but everything goes across all the branches.
Okay. But I know, for example, one of my friends, he's got a kid who's in the EFMP program, which is really cool because they tailor events and all kinds of different lifestyle features around families that have special needs kids or kids that have exceptional needs, whether that's high functioning or whether that's low functioning, no matter whether you struggle with something. We're talking anything as simple as like an IEP for maybe like ADHD or something where it's a mild case, all the way to like severe autism and stuff like that, where you can actually have your kid go and participate with other kids, and it's just this community network that the Air Force also considers, and that's something that's available over there at the Readiness Center, and that's really, really something to look forward to when you get to those bases and also when you get in the military. So let's see. I know I've got a specific question. I had it for Sergeant Bauman, not Bowman. I was saying it wrong, and I realized it. So while I think of that, yeah, right, I'll get there. While I get to that question and retain that back, we actually had a chance to sit down with a military spouse, and this is a really cool chance for us to kind of talk about the fact that it's so much more than just the person wearing the uniform. It's the rest of their family also starts to serve with them. And a lot of times those family members are such an important part of the consideration for that lifestyle. And they have a lot of questions as well. And we don't often get a chance to hear from them. So we actually had a chance to sit down and talk to a military spouse. And here's the video that we've got from that. A couple quick snips from it. So what do you do? And who are you?
I'm Bethany Hudson, and I'm an Air Force wife. I'm currently not working. We got here 8 months ago, and I've just been getting adjusted.
Cool. What would you say your professional occupation is?
I work in education.
Okay. Tell me a little bit about that.
So I have 5 years of experience as a teacher's aide. I've worked with special ed, kindergarten through 2nd grade, small group mainly.
Okay, cool. What is it like, just get right into the meat and potatoes, what is it like being an Air Force spouse?
What is it like? It is a very challenging but also really rewarding life. It's unlike any other life that you could have. The benefits outweigh any hard times. Obviously, you move a lot, but there's a ton of benefits. The commissary, tax-free, you've got your health care. If I need to go to the doctor, I just go. They prescribe me a medication. I go to the pharmacy, pick it up. There's no copay. You don't pay for your medicine, which I think is incredible. All the gyms, I can go work out for free. I can walk down the street and feel safe. And I live on base, so living on base, your housing allowance covers everything, your utilities and everything. So
it sounds a lot like the cool amenities that are afforded to people who are in the military are also afforded to like spouses and families.
Absolutely, absolutely. Right. They treat everybody like family.
So even though you don't necessarily wear the uniform, you get to still enjoy some of the benefits, which is really cool. Right?
Yeah.
So what's it like living on base? Like that's got to be scary, right? Big military installation. It's probably like, what are they, like buildings and barracks and stuff? Is that where you live?
No, not at all. We live in a beautiful historic home, and the character of the houses and really cool fireplace, and all the amenities are super close. All of our neighbors are nice. Everybody's always outside playing. The kids are on the trampoline behind us. It's not scary at all. In fact, I feel very safe because of the gate, obviously.
Sure. Yeah. Having an armed guard on security every single day, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year.
Yeah, always protected.
Yeah, for sure. That's really cool. What would you say to a young family who the spouse was concerned about their spouse joining the military, looking kind of down that avenue of a life choice? What would you say to them as words of wisdom or words of advice?
I think that this life is so special, and being so proud of your service member is something that other people don't get to experience, and it's absolutely worth it. There's a ton of support everywhere you go. There's resources. There's backup for anything that you might need. It will never be difficult as long as you utilize every piece of support that's around you.
So it's not a bad lifestyle.
No, not at all.
That's cool.
That's awesome. I was a mill-to-mill spouse for a while, so it was some unique challenges with that, but it's still, our spouses do so much work, even whether they're active duty spouses or civilian spouses, or whether they're taking care of the kids or working full-time as well. We can't thank our spouses enough, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. I'll definitely throw a shout out for mine. Thanks, babe.
But yeah, so Captain Bauman, we haven't really spoken to you a whole bunch. So I know Dale talked a little bit about being an FSS chief. So what perspective can you provide us coming as an FSS officer on how these programs function and work?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've kind of helped manage them, run them on different bases and at headquarters. But I think it's cool to be, come kind of as an insider, having seen how the behind the scenes are working. And the Air Force as a whole is putting tons of resources towards all these programs. And I don't know if anyone mentioned it yet, but everything that's been mentioned is either free or way cheaper than the market rate, which is a really cool kind of feature of it. The outdoor rec stuff. It was mentioned, $12.99 a day for a trailer. I laugh because it's so true. Like, stuff is so cheap. It's not a money making business necessarily. It is a support business. So the goal is to support all of the clientele and the customers, which are us, who are wearing the uniform, and families and civilians. So yeah, great memories of ski trips. I had been to the arts center, been to, the bowling alley with the team. I'm actually going boating on Friday at Canyon Lake with my team. We're doing an offsite. Just finished my boater's license.
Nice,
So excited for that. And one other highlight I would say is I've even done this with like allied militaries, like in Korea. The South Korean military was building our alliance, and they took us to like a BTS show one time in Seoul. It was insane. So yeah, I've seen this at all levels, and I can say, it's like really, it's really fun to take advantage of because there's so many options. And so yeah.
Nice.
I think I called you Captain Bowman after I scolded him about it. So sorry about that.
I was scolding myself first. It's fine.
It's just natural to say that. I'm sorry. We'll do better. Do better.
Well, so we actually had a major, and obviously before major she was a captain, but we had a major bowman in the building. So I'm just like programmed to say bowman when I see it, and then my brain is just not calculating. Nice. So Bowman. Got it. Bowman. Now we're going to say it enough that it's annoying. He's like, stop saying my name.
Yeah, that's all right. I'll just say captain from now on. But something I did learn as being, so I worked at the Air Force Mortuary Affairs operations for a little while when I was at Dover Air Force Base. In their public affairs, obviously, since I'm PA. But I spent a lot of time with my services folks, so I have a soft spot in my heart for them. But you called it the bowling alley, and they would correct you and say it's the bowling center. So I just thought I'd call you out on that one.
Oh, man. Spicy.
Touche.
All right, to everybody out there joining us online, we are getting very close to the section of the show where we go live for your questions. Yes. Well, we're live anyway, but we're going to start putting your questions on the screen.
There's some good ones so far.
I've seen a lot of good stuff. Yeah. I've seen some that I'm like, I might have to bust out Google and see if I can get some help on that one. And then I've seen some in there that are just straight up spicy. So,
yeah, there's a lot of spice today.
Don't troll. We'll boot you out, but you can bring the spice. I saw one in there that said "Go Army."
Rude.
Listen here, sir. This is an Air Force show.
At least say like "Go Space Force" or something.
Right. We got the flag. We had a QR code up on the screen a second ago, and if I knew where the button was, I could make it happen. Major Lane, there you go. He's helping me out. With the questions and answers, if we don't get to your question for whatever reason, you can use this QR code, scan it. You can go to airforce.com and you can check in there where there's a recruiter locator, and there's all kinds of cool programs inside airforce.com. That you can use, and there's also the Aim High app. There's just all kinds of resources that can help get your questions answered. But our job is to get as many of them answered today as we can. So
I'm also loving that it took 33 minutes, but we finally got a situation reference. It took every show somebody calls you the situation, so it only took 33 minutes this time. That's longer than normal, I think.
Anyway, 33 minutes is long enough for us to get into the live question and answer segment of the show. That's a statement, sir, not a question. Actually, it is a question, I guess, isn't it? Dang it.
No, so you were right the first time.
I've been told that before, and
Jim Tan. See, no, but that's perfect because what do? What does Mike the Situation do? The Air Force basically offers all that. Gym, laundry, you want to do it? Air Force is going to help you out.
I'm glad I get the pop reference because I had to Google it, but I've never watched. It's Jersey Shore, right? Yeah, okay, cool. Somebody else backed me up here because I was like, I think it is.
Yes.
And then I'm being hated for it right now, but I'm like, I know who he is, but I don't know anything about him other than it's Jersey Shore, and I don't watch Jersey Shore, so I'm like, okay. So maybe if I watched it, I'd identify with it and like it. I don't know, maybe I'll have to watch it. Comment if you think I should watch Jersey Shore.
Absolutely, peer pressure.
I'll come back in 2 weeks just traumatized, like, why did you make me do this?
Yep, basically.
All right.
Or he's just going to fully be the situation.
All right, well, I see we have got a bunch of comments already locked in the queue, so if anybody has any thing that they want to launch in here before we get into the question and answer, it's going to become a wild ride pretty quick. So now's your chance.
Get it in there.
Or forever hold your peace.
And you don't have to keep like saying it multiple times. I promise Major Lane is actively scrolling over there and getting the questions. So you don't got to post multiple times. We'll get to it. We'll just try to get them in the best order that we can. So.
Yep. All right, let's get it started. How do you join as an officer? All righty. Airforce.com is a great resource.
Yes.
We do not have an officer recruiter specifically on the call today, but I will kick it over to Sergeant Keating, who can absolutely help answer that question as if you walked into his recruiting station and asked.
It's my pleasure to talk about one of my biggest passions in the U.S. Air Force.
See,
there's even,
I wasn't allowed to have the button.
There's
I hit the wrong
even
button.
pictures.
There's
even pictures on his buttons, and he still messed it up.
It says Keating. It's the video.
Must have my picture twice.
I have your name twice.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, go ahead. What would you tell somebody that came into your office and asked how they become an officer in the Air Force?
Well, there's a lot of different paths to officer. It's not just one path. And I think the first question I would ask is, what is their intent and where are they in their education? Because if they've already got their bachelor's degree, then as an enlisted accessions recruiter, and there's different types of recruiters, then my next step would be, okay, let's get you in contact with a recruiter that handles that particular degree. Because if it's a health degree, we absolutely need nurses, we need doctors, we need physicians, and we would get them to the health professions officer recruiter. If they were an engineering major, then I would get them in the direction where we would pursue our line officers. If they wanted to be a pilot, another different path. But if they didn't have any of that, if it was just, hey, I'm 17, what do I need to do to make sure that I get into the direction to become an officer for the Air Force? Well, let's talk about JROTC. Let's talk about ROTC. Let's talk about the academy and whether or not you've submitted your application. So it's not just a one road. It's what is your situation and what path you want to take. But as a recruiter, I can still lay out that groundwork. And since you're talking to me, I would also say, by the way, once you're in the Air Force, you could actually join and then commission later if that's not part of the plan, if that's not in the cards. So there's a lot of different paths.
So what you're saying is there's a lot of different paths. What I'm hearing is there's a lot of options, which is really cool. So a lot of people may not have a direct idea. They can come in and have a better idea. Or if they do come in with a good idea of what they want to do, then you can help point them down the right track, and there they go.
And I think the key here too, sorry to interrupt, is why do you want to be an officer?
Okay.
Because I almost had my bachelor's degree before I joined, and I've had no desire to commission to be an officer because I actually do like being enlisted. And I think just thinking about the reasons why you want to be an officer can help you choose the path that you would take as well.
Cool. Thanks, Sergeant Keating. I'm sure we'll be back.
Okay, I'll be here.
Now. Okay, cool.
You did it.
I hit the right button.
Yay.
Okay, now, so here we go.
Or he deactivated your buttons. And
he might have, and he's just taking over back there, and he's just letting me think. It's like when, in those cars where they teach the kids to drive or whatever, and they've got the 2 steering wheels, and the kids over there just doing this, and they're not actually making any adjustments to the car. The parent is driving.
That's probably what's happening.
It's probably what's happening. Dad's got controls back there. Well, since I gave us an accidental sneak peek, I guess I might as well follow through here. So we'll do the video now. We actually had a chance to, one of our guys in the office went out and did a little bit of the background. And this kind of ties into Mr. Philsell with some of your experience. So Sergeant Keating has actually, like he said in his introduction, has some experience in the marksmanship area in the shooting teams for the Air Force. So we actually threw together a quick video for that. And here is the rest of it.
It's my pleasure to talk about one of my biggest passions in the U.S. Air Force, something I found on accident, which is the U.S. Air Force shooting team. I joined the shooting team in 2011 at my second duty station, which was Vandenberg Air Force Base, and I discovered it on accident. I went out to the Rod and Gun Club, one of the facilities sponsored by FSS, where I met an individual and he said, hey, this weekend we're having a .22 rifle match. Why don't you join us? I did. Shot terrible. But eventually I built myself up to the marksman that I am today. I learned a lot of the fundamentals, things like sight alignment to, aligning your front, your rear sight, safety, where you can always identify that the rifle is safe and clear with the bolt back. This is a single shot rifle. It actually has no magazine. So if the bolt is back and the chamber is empty, this rifle is safe. from there, I've had the pleasure of being on the team. I've made some wonderful mentors who coached me and helped me become a national record holder, who've helped me win state championships, and who've helped me travel to various rifle matches. I've been to regional championships, state championships, I've been to the national championships, and I've even had the pleasure of trying out for World Cups, World Championships, and I've also been to Olympic pre-selection matches where they would eventually select people that would be the Olympic athletes for the rifle shooting sports at the 2020 games. Fortunately, I was not one of those, but one of the great things you can learn from the Air Force is if you fail, how do you build yourself better to where you can perform that in the future and become something even better? And you take those lessons and you move forward with the support from the Air Force mission and from the teams that you have the pleasure of connecting with throughout your time.
That's such an awesome story.
I actually didn't know that program existed until I got here and started working with Sergeant Keating. And yeah, it's pretty sweet. So actually, we have kind of a subject matter expert there, Mr. Philsow. Like, if you would explain, how does someone get into a program like that? Like, if you could quickly just kind of like run through the outline of what someone should do if they're like, I'm good at shooting guns. Like, I want to join that team. How would they do that?
Yeah. So yeah. Thanks for the question. So, if somebody is coming into the Air Force, or of course, with this audience, if there's somebody interested in shooting, they can actually contact myself, and I can put them in contact with the different leads for the shooting teams. But you're correct. I oversee the Air Force shooting program as well, and we do have members in that program. And part of my other job is I allocate ammunition to those shooting team members. But if there's somebody interested, they can contact me directly before they come into the Air Force, or once they are in the Air Force or Space Force. We cover both branches, of course. They can contact me, and I can put them in touch with the right shooting team member to get them involved with it.
Gotcha. Very, very cool. That's when you were saying that, I'm just thinking like the scope of sports. It's such
no pun intended.
Wow. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. I don't even know if there were optics on those. I just saw iron sights. But anyway, you think like how many sports there are. Scope of sports is a way better way to put that.
That's true. That's true.
Right. But you think like it's not just baseball, basketball, stuff like that. There's all kinds of different kinds of sports, all the way down to competitive shooting. So that's got to be a lot of responsibility, but really, really cool. So thanks for what you do there. And I got to get with Sergeant Keating more often, because he keeps trying to get me to go to the range, and I could always work on a little trigger time. So, all right, let's get the next question up. How would I go about joining the Space Force Reserves? So while I'm not a recruiter, I have learned a couple of things on this show, specifically actually because being able to host the show with recruiters.
Yes.
I don't think that the Space Force has reserves yet. I think they only have an active duty component.
Yes.
So your best bet is join the Air Force Reserves, and then if the Space Force Reserves open up, then you do that. But in the meantime, there are very Space Force-esque jobs still in the Air Force that you could still do. So talk to a Space Force recruiter just in case you're willing to go, or an Air Force recruiter and a Space Force recruiter, in case you're willing to go active duty, or talk to an Air Force recruiter for reserves if you want to go that direction.
Do we think the Space Force has like blaster training instead of like? Okay, sorry.
One of my very first funny ones when the Space Force was still very new was, I'm wondering what code we'll have for door gunner.
Oh yeah.
I was like, man, these are ruthless.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm just still so blown away by this episode. This is like my favorite episode, I think, because I actually this is not about me, but my previous assignment, I did a story on some athletes in the World Class Athlete Program, and it was just so cool to hear their different stories. And one was a swimmer, Ryan Dunn. He went to the swim trials for the Olympics,
right?
And he didn't qualify, and so then he just went and continued to be a pilot. And then we had 2 pole vaulters that I covered as well, and one did go to the Olympics, and now he's still just a pole vaulter. So you just have so many unique opportunities in that. And then my very first airman that I had when I was stationed in Texas before, he went to Coastal Carolina and played college ball for them, and then came in, he graduated, came in enlisted, and then joined the Air Force basketball team. Like, so you don't
Right.
have to sacrifice your hobbies just to be in the Air Force. And sometimes the Air Force will even just pay you to do your hobbies,
Yeah.
whatever you're
Right.
skilled at. So my mind is blown. I don't
True.
know.
That's a very valid
Yeah,
point.
so
And I like
I mean, if I can add a little bit
Yeah.
more to that, I mean,
Yeah,
you
go
bring
for
up a great point, and the other thing is we have the athletes that are in the program are just so humble, and we actually have our highlighted athlete right now, Kelly Curtis. She made it to the 2022 Winter Olympics, but before she came into the program, you know, she I mean, and we're talking about an athlete. She's got her bachelor's, she's got her master's degree. She came into the program, but basically, you know, she came to the program, was afforded the opportunity to make it to the Olympics, and she made it to the Olympics. And now she is just a great airman. And so that's, you know, for me, being retired chief, I look at it from two perspectives. Number one, we're recruiting a great athlete. But number two, once they're done with the program, they're going to be a great asset to the unit, whether it's a guardian or an airman. And so I look at it from those two perspectives. But all of the athletes that we have in this program are just very humble, very appreciative. And when you mention that, when they're done with WCAP, there's actually a 3-year active duty service commitment. So once they're done with the program, they go in and they do their primary job.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah. And again, Ryan Dunn, he's such a nice person, and he wanted to be a fighter pilot or a pilot at his whole time he was a child, but then he had the swimming career in high school and college, and he really thought he was going to have to not be able to do both, and he was able to do both. And
Right.
and actually he got to train near his home when he was prepping for the Olympic trials, and so he got to spend more time with his family and things like that. And I really think it's such a great program, and I may be a little biased just because I got to see it, you know, so firsthand, but
Yeah.
I think it's so amazing.
Right. I agree. All right, you want to take the next question?
Sure.
All right. What do we
Better be
got?
an easy one. I don't know.
You can just pound it off to somebody if it's not. I already queued up Captain Bauman
Okay, yeah.
on accident.
See, yeah.
So
Mhm.
again,
He's
with
still
the
the
buttons.
buttons. Yeah, we need like the shapes and okay. What kind of community service activities does the Air Force host, and how family friendly are there?
Oh, I know who gets this one.
Mm-hmm.
Wendy, I think that's you.
So we have a lot of community activities for the Air Force. One of the things that we do for people that are deployed is Hearts Apart. So we get together and we invite families, sometimes in conjunction with the EFMP, and we'll get together and maybe they rent out a park on base or do something, have a barbecue, have some community partners, sometimes on the civilian side, come in and talk about different services they can provide. But I think I told you one of the things that we do is really information referral. So we get to be the hub, kind of the connection between a lot of military community partners and then local community partners as well. So lots of services, yes, family friendly. Everything we do is family friendly if it's a family activity, but there are so many activities that we provide. We have like USA jobs and federal resumes where we will sit down, and it can be somebody that's preparing to separate from the service or retire, or maybe spouses, and we'll look at things like what's different between a civilian resume and a federal resume, and how do you make application for a job in looking at the different postings they have on USA Jobs, and what do you look at to put into your resume to make it really connected and applicable to the job you're applying for. So lots of services, all kinds of different services, and family appropriate depending on if it's a family kind of themed things. I think I mentioned, you know, the things with MWR where we will connect with them and have something that they kind of host for us, and we bring the community partners that we have there.
Sure. Yeah. And it's something that you mentioned earlier, that you guys are kind of like the central hub and the link for a lot of places. You guys have a lot of experience and a lot of specialty, but you focus most of your efforts on putting people with agencies or putting people with resources, which I really respect, because you're not completely task saturating all of your people in-house to do the thing. You're focusing on getting everyone in touch with who knows how to do the thing best. So that resource to have a reference is as valuable as having somewhere that you can go to get it done. You know, no matter what it is, it can be anything from, you know, classes on personal finance to help getting out of the military to, working through whatever stressors you're going through, whether it's you as an individual, you as a family, stuff like that. All of those things are there, and it's a huge, huge resource pool. So definitely take advantage of it if you haven't already. And if you join the military, join the Air Force, look into it. It's one of those things that you're going to wonder where you were under a rock somewhere if you manage to make it however long without finding out about that place. So, all right.
Absolutely.
We're letting them back in.
I'm gonna say a little bit too, because I think we are sometimes a little naive, and we think that if you join the Air Force, you're already like an adult who knows everything, and that's not necessarily the case. And so I found that they have a lot of really great resources for airmen who are brand new to the Air Force, who maybe haven't lived away from home or bought a car before or bought a house before. There's classes you can take that go over how to negotiate interest rates for your cars and like what to look out for, and just really resources that you didn't think would be available. That if you go work at some civilian job somewhere, they're not gonna offer these things for you. They're just gonna assume that you know what you're doing. So it's really everything. This is great. Thanks for inviting me to this show.
You're always welcome here. You know that.
I had to break in.
We have made it almost 25 minutes, and we've answered 3 questions.
Okay.
So we're going to try to stay focused now and not just, ooh.
Yeah,
so
shiny.
Let's get to another question. If you click on, I saw that one come up. That's a book.
Oh, my goodness.
If you click on that, it's going to cover the whole page.
Yeah, that's true. No,
Oh,
but
it's a reply. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
It's a reply. So one of the cool
to
things.
the tattoo.
Yeah. One of the cool things about the comments section is we have active moderators in the chat that are not here in this room. They're actually part of another program, but they are active in the chat, and they're answering some questions that we don't get to. They see which ones we answer because they're also watching the show. But I just saw a response, and it's lengthy, and I was hoping that as it pops up, it doesn't show up on the whole screen.
Yeah.
All right, let's get another question up on the screen that we can read.
Yeah.
All right. Is it hard to become an F-22 pilot? Yes.
Yeah.
I would say it's pretty difficult to become an F-22 pilot.
I think anytime you want to come in and you have a specific thing that you're trying to do and you're not willing to be flexible in that or take a different path or a creative path to get there, it's going to be hard. And so a lot of people want to be pilots. They want to be fighter pilots especially. And so if you're set on that airframe, there's a good chance that you're going to do a lot of work and not get that airframe. And so you just have to be ready for that. Now, if you want to be a pilot, that opens up your opportunities a lot more. And I think you have a better chance of that. But yeah, I think an F-22 pilot's going to be pretty tricky.
I feel like becoming a pilot in the Air Force is not an easy task, right? You have to be very mentally sharp. You have to be very ready for all the challenges and the trainings that are going to come up. But like Sergeant Patterson said, if you have a specific airframe already in mind, it does make it more difficult because you'll need to make sure you fit a bunch of criteria. That being said, we love tenacity. And if you stick to it and you keep trying for that airframe, someone's going to see that dedication and they're going to try harder to get you a yes. So don't give up early. If you want to fly an F-22, go talk to a recruiter, go become an officer, and go fly F-22s.
Right.
That would make you one of the coolest people that walk this planet.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, it's mental sharpness, not just, so it's academics. You have to have pretty darn good academics in everything you do, as well as that common sense and just natural decision-making skills and abilities, leadership qualities, because they're not just looking for who's the best pilot, it's who's a good leader as well. So, but if you want that and you're willing to work for it,
go after it.
It's possible, definitely.
All right, let's get the next question.
I'm not getting the quick memo. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
What are the requirements to join?
Ooh, hold on. There's a good opportunity to bring in Sergeant Keating and also to help me practice with my button pushing skills.
Okay, we can do it.
I think so. Ready?
Are we going to see a video?
Nope.
Oh, we did
We
it.
do. We see him on video. What are some of the requirements to join? Just the quick basics, Sergeant Keating.
Okay. Yeah. So if I was to summarize it in 3 steps, it's going to be your mental qualification, which is going to be like your ASVAB test or your AFOQT. It's going to be your health examination, which is going to be, that's like going to MEPS. It's your physical, it's your eyesight, it's your hearing, it's height, it's weight, limber, flexibility, motion kind of things. They test all that stuff at the MEPS. And then the third item would be actually sitting down with a recruiter and going over your background, so maybe some past medical history, maybe some law violations, different things like that, all need to be in like the full picture of, hey, are you qualified and are you ready to join?
Sure. So we have basics like don't have any felonies, right? You don't want to be over the age of 40, because if you are over 40, you're not eligible. So you need to be in basic training before your 40th birthday. You have to be in some form of decent physical shape. There's a certain level of physical fitness that you have to attain as a basic minimum to join, right? So, and your recruiter will be able to tell you all this stuff, the actual specifics. Obviously, I know you asked us, and it's our job to get those basics to you, but these are things to consider. I think what we've learned, especially on this show, is you'd be surprised what things you can still have as a challenge that you can overcome and still join the Air Force. There's a lot of people who assume that a medical condition or that a specific thing that's specific to them will keep them from being able to get in the Air Force. It's very much not true most of the time. So go talk to a recruiter and find out what they can do to help you get in the Air Force, because it's surprising what you can get yourself to work around if you have a recruiter that's going to fight for you. So thanks again, Sergeant Kitty.
Absolutely.
And we're back here.
Yeah, and that's actually just one thing that I know we're supposed to be quick, but
we tried.
The most common comment that I see every time we do these shows is, "I wish it was older than 39." But there are certain exceptions to that. Sometimes, depending on if you join the reserves, like if you're a doctor, if you are something that the Air Force needs, there are special occasions. So if you have a skill that the Air Force needs, go to ask a recruiter. It doesn't hurt to ask, and they can maybe point you in that direction to get you to a yes.
Cool. All right, let's get the next question. Do you have any ideas when 1D7 AFSC will be opened? Already in the DEP. So the DEP is the delayed entry program. It is part of the programs where someone has decided they're going to join the Air Force, and they are in the delayed program waiting to get picked up for an AFSC. So what was that, the 1DE7? I'm not familiar with what that one is.
Based on this question, I think it's
1D7. Okay, yeah, 1 Delta. Maybe we'll have to look it up. It's not easy. I know. So my first pick when I actually joined, my first pick was to do 3 Delta. So which is also, it's a cyber systems transport analyst, which is a complex way of saying a computer nerd, a guy who works on network systems. So I came in trying to do that, and there was, the ASVAB is broken into pieces. So they'll focus heavily on your engineering capabilities, obviously your maintenance stuff is high requirement there, but your electronics knowledge is also very high there as well. So they'll focus there. The cool thing about it is if there's availability and you meet the minimum requirements on the ASVAB, you don't have to have a ton of experience in cyber stuff as an enlisted member to go into that career field. They will send you to school for all the training, and they will teach you how to do that job 100%. So you don't, I didn't have any experience in public affairs before I joined. They sent me to school for 4 months, and they teach you how to do public affairs stuff. And for me, I was broadcast journalism. They teach you how to use a camera and how to edit and how to produce stuff. So they taught me all of that stuff in a very short period of time and sent me out to do my job. And here I am, over a decade later doing it. So it's really cool. You don't. Thank you. You don't have to have a ton of previous experience in order to be able to be trained to do something in the Air Force. So.
Yeah. And also, caveat to that too, cyber, you have to be a U.S. citizen, I believe, those jobs. So
yes,
you can't just, because you can have a green card sometimes and join.
Right.
So cyber jobs are going to be a little more in demand, I think.
Yep. Are we on the right track there, Sergeant Keating?
That's correct,
cyber,
yeah.
you have to be, okay.
And one thing that's important to note also, if I can add into this, is after you finish at the MEPS, so after you've done your ASVAB and you've done your MEPS physical, you should actually be provided a qualification report, which is a list of all the jobs that you should be qualified for, pending any kind of manual QC, any kind of quality checks, where they have to make sure that, if your job is on that list, you should be qualified for it. But they might not have your height, weight, or they might not have education requirements or something listed on that sheet.
Right. Cool. Thank you, sir.
Awesome.
Alrighty. I want to get a question that I can push towards our
Yeah,
outdoor rec guys,
outdoor
because
rec.
I have a follow-up
Oh,
question, and it
yeah.
seems like
Well, somebody asked something about, maybe Major Lane can find it, about ice hockey and lacrosse and how they liked that. Have we talked about ice hockey and lacrosse? I think both of them could probably answer that.
I'd love to play ice hockey and lacrosse.
Yeah, so I can kind of pick up on that one. So officially for Air Force sports, we do not have ice hockey or lacrosse. However, there are certain bases that will have ice hockey. I believe I read an article. Spangdahlem Air Base, which is in Germany, actually had an ice hockey team. So it's going to be dependent on which base you go to. So also in regards to sports at each base, they also have varsity sports. And so there are some bases. I know I have seen ice hockey. I'm not 100% sure on lacrosse, but it could be something to where the individual that's asking that question, when they get to their first base, there's a possibility they can go talk to the fitness center and say, hey, I'm interested in getting a lacrosse team started here at base X. And they could possibly look at doing that and then maybe sponsoring them to where they could be in a local lacrosse league or something to that effect.
Oh, wow.
But it's not an official Air Force sports sport right now. So
Okay. So you mentioned, and we've heard it a couple times already on the show, we focus on when people get to a base, right? It's important for them to be aware of the resources and stuff that's around them. I want to kick this over to Outdoor Rec. What is one of the coolest stories that you've seen of someone that just showed up, right? New airman or new to the base, and just kind of, that was their first experience with Outdoor Rec that kind of just opened their mind to the possibilities that were there. I want to give you guys some more time to shine, because I can't state enough how important it is that people get over there and take advantage of those resources.
So
I mean, whoever can go, yeah, or you can both go.
Back to the comment with Go Army. As far as I have a lot of experience with MWR, particularly Army Outdoor Recreation, before I took up my position with the Air Force. I had the opportunity to work overseas in Germany, and there's a very specific pastime sport, outdoor activity called Klettersteig. We don't actually have an English word for it. We use the Italian word via ferrata, which translates to the Iron Way. So a little bit of history real quick. It was a way that the Italian troops developed during World War I to help move troops through the Alps. And it's a fixed cable route on the rock face. So you use very similar climbing equipment, harness, lanyard system. So we would get new people first duty station over at Grafenbeer and take them out and do that. And they're like, what did I just get myself into? But the look and the sense of accomplishment they had when we finished the route was just always worth it.
That's awesome.
Awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, that would be pretty cool to be able to climb a historic route like that. That'd be.
And also, those people probably had no idea that existed as an activity until they walked into the outdoor rec center.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of really what we want to drive home, is that you've got to check out the resources that are available. Even if you might have heard it in passing, you got to go check it out in person, see what there really is to offer, because they're going to have those resources to get you started, whether it's the gear that you can rent for yourself at a way cheaper deal than having to buy in. Sometimes they're going to offer a program where they will take you out there and give you that step-by-step instruction. So it doesn't matter what your experience level is with any kind of activity. There are resources within the Air Force that can get you there, whether that's through the fitness centers, through outdoor recreation, through family services, whatever that may be.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know that existed until you guys just said it. So
Right.
I've seen, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've seen diving certifications that some outdoor recs can take care of, right? Like I've seen the diving sticker. I was in Charleston and saw that on the back of somebody's car and asked them, I was like, what is that? And they're like, oh, it's the diving program. I'm scuba certified. I was like, that's a thing? And they're like, yeah, you can do it at the Outdoor Rec Center. And I was like, what? So really cool. Definitely check them out.
Yeah. I just love that it's for all levels too. You know, like they said, if you're a beginner, they'll show you the ropes. No pun intended. Or, okay, maybe all my puns are intended. But also like with tickets and travel, I found that when I was living overseas, Germany was my first base, lucky, right? But I was a small town farm girl from Nebraska who had never really left or been really on an airplane that many times. And so living in Germany was very scary for me. So what I would do is I knew I wanted to travel and see the world, but I didn't want to go alone and not know what to look for. So I did the ITT trips, and they would have a group of you on a bus, and they would drop you off and say, okay, go explore, be back here. And so it was a way to go see somewhere without the commitment of getting lost driving. Because when I joined also, I don't know if you can see my gray hairs. The lighting in here is a little better, so you can, or worse, so you can see the the gray hairs more. But we just had like MapQuest and like paper maps and stuff when I was in Germany. So like if I wanted to go to Poland, I had to MapQuest it. I had to print out the instructions and drive in a foreign country alone. Like, that's crazy. So I would just get on a bus with some people, and they would take you there and show you some things to look at, and then you knew you had a ride home. And then it gave you the courage to go back if you wanted to. So I think it's really great that they can hold your hand for you a little bit, or they can say, oh, you're already pretty experienced in this. Go have fun, have a great time. So there's just so many great programs. I'm going to say that the whole time.
Yep, I agree. Oh, there's a question.
Oh, what town am I from? Oh, I am from Arlington, Nebraska. It's a very small town, about 1,000 people, from in between Blair and Omaha. So if you're familiar with Nebraska, I say I'm from the East Coast of Nebraska.
Boom.
Because I'm like right by the river, so on the border of Iowa.
Well, to be fair, we did pick that one, and it was that just came through, and I know it's not in order with that one, but it was an easy kill for us, and now it can get us on the habit of trying to get back into quickly answering these questions, because we're going to try. We're going to try. All right, let's see if we can run through a couple of them without going down the rabbit hole.
Is there anything I can do to get involved with the military before I'm 18? I got 2 years to go until I'm 18, so just wondering. JROTC, Civil Air Patrol, there's like so many. That's all I'm going to say, because you told me to be quick.
Perfect. Anybody else got anything to add? Anybody else recommendations, what you would say before you're 18?
Aim High Fight Academy.
There's Major Lane from the background.
Major Lane from the background. No camera, though.
He got real close to that microphone, too.
Yeah.
Hello.
But the Aim High Fight Academy, I believe you have to be 16. Your grades have to be fairly decent. I'm not going to give a GPA because I'll probably mess it up. And then, but the Aim High Fight Academy is basically help youth who's interested in being pilots, and so they can go. I'm not sure what all they do there. Our Det One personnel will have to kind of go into that, but there is a program as well for the youth.
Gotcha. This is the part where Major Lane is very smart for not giving me the button, because that's the part where I would have pushed it.
I would have.
So, all right, let's do the next question.
He was too busy talking.
How safe is it to join and get a dream sheet job? Can it be on the contract? Ooh, I'm going to have to pull in the professional here. Sergeant Keating, we're coming to you for this one. How safe is it to join and get a dream sheet job? You got to qualify it from the ASVAB, but let's go to the man with the experience, and I almost hit the video again.
Yeah,
it says Keating in capital letters. So what would you tell somebody that?
As a recruiter, it's always difficult because you're not applying for a single position. You're applying for the Air Force, and that's the first thing that needs to be clear. We need people to join the Air Force because they want to be part of what it is we do, and that's our missions, which is to protect the world, right? And, free trade and things like that. Things that you can do that might help you get a position that you're more interested in is maybe if you have any kind of certificates. So if like your dream job was cyber, then there's actually programs to help you get directly into cyber careers if you have like your A+ certification, or if you have, I think there was like an ethical hacking course. Like there's some different certifications, and the recruiters have this list, this book of, items that will help them put them on that path, but there's still no guarantee until we find out if you're actually qualified, which is you've got to take the ASVAB, you've got to have the scores for that. You've got to pass the physical because, as a recruiter, I had somebody that joined and I thought they were going to be a shoo-in for cyber careers. Turns out they were colorblind and they didn't even know. They didn't find out until after maps. And, to be a recruiter and tell somebody, yeah, you've got a great chance to get in that career, and have them come back and I have to say, hey, man, I've got some terrible news. I can't do that for you. That's a bad position. So until I actually have all that information and all those facts, I can't answer whether or not you're going to get that dream job that you want. I'm going to do
Right.
everything within my ability, within my power to help put you on a path to try and meet that expectation.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to come back to that same thing that we said earlier about trying to be an F-22 pilot. Hey, let's open up the doors. Do you want to join the Air Force, or do you want to be, fire protection, right?
Right. Right.
These are the questions that we've got to get answered.
Yeah, that's a good point, especially with the certifications and stuff, because we've had people talk about whether or not having any kind of private pilot's license helps with aviation stuff in the Air Force. Absolutely, the experience is helpful. It looks good on the application and stuff like that, and any letters that you need for that kind of stuff. So, once again, thank you to our recruiter in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
Next question.
Is it possible to start pilot training after BMT?
Yes. Private pilot
Private, yes. You have to be an officer to be a pilot, unless you're a drone pilot, right?
Correct. Yep.
And I don't want to
RPA.
misspeak here. Yeah, RPA pilot. And then, so you wouldn't go to pilot training after BMT, because you wouldn't go to BMT if you were an officer.
True.
But private pilots, yes. If we're talking about the FSS world,
and if you're asking
MWR world.
Yeah, if you're asking would you go to that training after your effective same training for OTS if you went to basic training for the officer's side? Yes, that would be part of your training pipeline, and then you would go on to do your pilot training. So, yeah, it would come after your initial basic training.
Yep. And then if you're doing the program so like Sergeant Keating did the program with the shooting, like he went to the shooting club on base and then started competing. They have aero clubs on base that you can go and get your pilot's license as well. So you would go to tech school first, and tech school can be pretty demanding. So you may not have as much time to do that while you're in tech school, depending on your schoolhouse and where it's located and things. But definitely when you get to your first base, you can take a crack at it. Probably.
For sure. And not every base has an aero club, but a lot of them do. So
I know Dover does. I don't know.
Charleston did when I was there. I know that.
Yeah.
But all right, next question. I'm looking to enlist for 4 years with a bachelor's in engineering and later commissioning. How hard is it to commission from enlisted, and what would you suggest to look out for? Major Lane from the background. I will let you go on this one because you have exact experience in this.
Yes, so it is pretty hard. It is pretty hard. Let me.
Come on.
Let's see. I'll come on camera. I got Randy in the background. So
Yay!
How y'all doing? All right.
Tell Randy to cover up his ID card.
Yeah.
There you go.
Appreciate it, Randy. All right. That's why we don't come off camera, because we're not camera ready.
That's PA for you right there.
But all right. So it's pretty difficult to commission once you join, but it's not impossible. Matter of fact, I would say the fact that it's difficult probably scared most people out of it, and if they just went through the process, they probably would get picked up. So there's a few programs that the Air Force offers. So when you first join, the biggest advice I would give you is be a good airman. I remember I actually joined enlisted. I did exactly what you're asking for. And my flight chief, our security forces, he told me, he's like, if you want other opportunities in the Air Force, then do a really good job at what you're currently doing. So that's the first advice I give you is join, do good, because every single one of your annual reports are going to be looked at if you're trying to get picked up to become an officer. And then it's just a matter of which route you want to go. So if you want to go officer training school, that route is a little bit harder to get picked up for because of the way we do commission. So if we need, and this is just an example, if we need 100 officers in fiscal year 23, then the academy is going to get the first batch of officers. Then ROTC would get a group of officers, and then what's left over would be officer training school. And so you may have 5,000 people applying for officer training school, and there may only be 100 slots. So that's why it's kind of difficult to get in. And so your AFOQT score is going to need to be good. Your duty in the military needs to be outstanding. And then you want to try to do as much leadership stuff as possible, because officers are leaders. And so your package, they're going to want to see what kind of leader you are. And so that's the advice I would give you. It is difficult because the Air Force, we require the best, so excellence in all we do. But it's definitely, if I can do it with my Atlanta public school education, then you can do it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I think he made a really good point that it's a difficult process, but if you just apply, there's a good chance, because I believe they accept, like, the acceptance rate is actually pretty high recently. I don't know how recently. I'm trying to go back here. But it's just because they don't get a lot of applicants. So if you meet the requirements, which are a little bit difficult to meet, and
you have to have your degree.
And you have your degree, and you're recommended by your leadership because you're stellar in the job that you're currently doing, the chances are pretty good that you can do it, but you have to get there. And that's where people don't want to put in the work. They don't want to be, you know, if they're not happy in what they're doing, they may not try as hard. And you know, we're only going to reward people with opportunities who are putting in the work for them.
Right.
So
Cool. Next question.
that reminded me, we forgot to say that the academy has lacrosse and ice hockey.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, Major Lane also popped up earlier and said, remind him that the officer or the academy, so the school in Colorado Springs, so Air Force Academy, they have D1.
Yes.
So division lacrosse and hockey.
Yeah.
Which is really cool. So if you're still interested in those and you want to go to the academy route, you can play D1 in those sports.
Yeah. And then I'm assuming WCAP, do you have ice hockey people?
It's an Olympic sport, so we can look at an ice hockey player, but you would have to be at a pretty high level.
Gotcha.
I'd have to look and verify, but I don't think lacrosse is a Olympic sport, but I have to verify that one.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Usually the Olympic teams for like ice hockey is the NHL players.
Yeah.
So probably not, but never know.
That last question that popped up said, hello, is there someone broadcast journalist here? I'm thinking that's what you're asking. We're both actually broadcast journalists. So Sergeant Patterson and myself, that was our kind of the way we got into the Air Force. Went to tech school, and that's what they taught us how to do. So if you're asking if there is a broadcast journalism course, it's now part of a merger course. So it's part of public affairs specialists course, which basically will do broadcast journalism, photography, writing, and stuff like that. So yeah, there absolutely is a broadcast journalism specialty still in the Air Force.
Yeah. Did you go in when, were you a broadcaster or a broadcast journalist?
I was a broadcast journalist, so I was after the first. I think it was like still the second merger, but
okay. I'm just curious.
Broadcast journalist.
I'm an OG.
Yeah, back when it was just
well,
broadcaster.
Technically, I'm not an OG. I was graphics.
That is OG.
So I was graphics.
I think I just called you old, and I didn't mean to.
It's okay. The white hairs, they're coming in.
No.
So.
I'm not going down that one. Thanks, Esteban. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
All right, next question. And you can take this one before I get myself in trouble.
Oh, I was going to answer this one anyway. After graduating tech school, how long do you usually stay in the dorms until you're kicked out and told to choose either on or off base?
That's a good question. That's a great question.
It really depends on what base you're at and their capacity of the dorms, for sure. Somebody else may be able to speak better on this, but typically you're a senior airman and the dorm is at capacity, and so they say find another place to live. But there are exceptions, and a lot of people get to move off sooner, just because if you have a lot of people in the dorms and they can't fit everybody, they'll go down the list and offer you. If you get married and have dependents, there are exceptions as well. So it really depends on the base and what tech schools are there, and also to get off base early, you would have to get like recommendations. So again, remember when I said you have to be really good at what you do and a good airman and things like that? They're not going to send somebody to live off base who's not ready for that. So that can be a good, or maybe you want to live off base and you're not quite ready for it, but it could also be a good thing, like, hey, you're not quite ready for this. So take advantage. I know everybody says they want to get out of the dorms, so take advantage of living in the dorms. Take advantage of it. You don't got bills in the dorms. I'm telling you.
That's true.
I'm telling you.
I've seen a lot of people want that off-base freedom now, and I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
go ahead.
Wendy.
So that's actually another time that when people are getting ready to move out into their dorms, they come into us so that we can provide them financial counseling. So it's another thing we can do how we work together.
That's really cool. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, another resource for the Readiness Center. What does that look like if someone came in and wanted to do some sort of financial counseling for that?
Oh, it's great. So they'll just either call or come and visit, come up to our front desk, and then we'll set them up with an appointment. to work with one of our personal financial counselors. The great thing is no one sells any products. It's really just about helping people achieve their personal financial goals. And in this case, moving out of the dorms. And so we'll sit down and look at, their finances and help them line up what their goals are and see what that looks like in, month to month budgeting out for, maybe utilities and their car note and their rent or mortgage if they're looking at doing something like that. Just a simple appointment, and then follow-ups to see if they're in their goals.
Yeah, and that also brings up a good point. What kind of briefings do you guys have available for first-term airman programs when you guys see first-term airmen that come in and they're seeing you for the first time? What kind of briefings do you offer those guys?
So one of the things we'll do is just sit down and make sure that they really understand their pay. Give them familiarity with what their LES looks like. What do all the little boxes mean? Go out and talk to them about the blended retirement system and how to achieve the financial goals. Because as a young airman, sometimes we're not already thinking about retirement, but it's a really important consideration. And the earlier you plan, the better the outcomes can be. So getting in and talking about those things. And now the Air Force is really built in these things they call touch points, where they have certain lifestyle, like, when you get married or when you have your first kid, where you will then come in and we'll have an opportunity to talk to you again about finances, because there's different things you consider at each stage in your life.
Sure.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely. I know, no one ever talked to me about money. I mean, in high school a little bit, we had to learn how to write a check.
Yeah,
That's
you
how
had a
old
check
I am.
writing
Yeah,
class?
I had a check writing class. But, I'd never learned about budgeting or investing or, what's changing my TSP so that I'm, not in this fund, I'm in a different fund and things like that. And, we assume that supervisors are going to sit down and go over your LES with you and show you how your pay is going to work, your leave and earning statements.
Doesn't always work that way.
Well, you mentioned we go out to FPAC and we'll do car buying seminars and just talk about what it is, how you buy a car, what it's
all kinds
what
of
the
stuff.
smart way is.
And not to air my dirty laundry here, but one of those touch points, I went through a divorce and I had to do a divorce finance class. And I was like, I'm fine. I'm old as heck. I don't need this. But if you think about somebody maybe who goes through a divorce and their spouse handled all of their finances and they didn't know how to set up utilities in their own name or anything.
Sure.
So it's really amazing resources that
All down there.
This show, man, this is great. Okay.
I want to get to the next question, but
Yeah.
I do want to tag real quick and just say a lot of these things, I feel like a lot of these agencies, outdoor rec, a lot of the stuff that FSS can kind of run, and then, the readiness centers, they kind of fall into this weird taken for granted space where in our heads we have this mentality from when we were kids and we were taught nothing that sounds that good is free.
Right, but it
is, and it is that good. People kind of
Free or
gloss
cheap.
over it because you don't realize what's there and how much. I've literally done whole paid weekend trips, didn't cost me a penny.
Right.
I've done golf tournaments, didn't cost me a penny. Just stuff that was sponsored events that the FSS had their hand in. So it's just really, really cool.
Yeah.
Don't pass up the opportunity.
And especially outdoor rec too, and you're like $12 for this trailer. What's
Right, exactly.
So when I turn it in, you're gonna charge me? No, as long as you bring it back in one piece, you're good. It's that's the key. He's like, that's the key. Bring it back in one piece.
You got to bring back your locks too.
Yes.
All right, let's get that next question up there, and we are dang close to the lightning round.
Ooh.
How often does Air Force ensure well-being of pilots, as this is a high-impact job role?
Ooh.
That's a great question.
I can throw something up there from the FSS side. So on the FSS side, we also have the dining facilities. And so for the pilots, we actually have flight kitchens. And so some of those kitchens actually prepare meals that are specific for the pilots. They also have crew rest. And so when they have crew rest on the lodging side, of course, the pilots get priority for their crew rest within lodging. So from the FSS side, as far as eating, and of course, as far as how, to ensure that they get the appropriate sleep, we're able to take care of that. And then, of course, as we've already discussed on this show today, the pilots have access to all of these programs, and that takes care of their morale once they're done flying as well. But those are two areas on the dining facility side and also on the lodging side that FSS takes care of.
Yeah, definitely. I know the Air Force as a whole tries to take care of their people. I've seen it in every place I've been. And the pilots are such a crucial part of what we support in the Air Force. They absolutely are very well taken care of, and they're checked in on. Just like the Special Forces guys, like they have their own specialist care in-house a lot of times. They have their own dietitians, their own yoga instructors, their own like people running the gym and stuff like that. So a lot of specialized care and a lot of tailored care for those critical members.
Right,
So.
the human performance programs that are really taken off. They're amazing. It's really treating these airmen who are doing these really tough, physically demanding jobs as if they are professional athletes.
Yep.
So they have trainers and just unique things that you wouldn't have expected by coming in the Air Force.
All right. We're going to get into the lightning round where we will try to set
Why
ourselves.
were you guys trying to tell me to hurry when that wasn't even the lightning round?
No, because we had made it through like 3 questions in 20 minutes.
They were good
So
questions.
now we're going to do lightning round where basically we're probably not even going to go full screen to anybody. We're just going to fire it off to somebody. If you've got an answer for it and you can answer it quickly, take it, hit it. We'll get the next question and we'll see how many more we can get through because
I'll be quiet.
we've got more questions in the queue than we can get to in the next however many minutes that we are allowed to run because this show has gone by really fast this time. So
it was good.
lightning round, go. First question.
How's the food on base? Is single dorm living true? Is single dorm living true? And how much free time do you have in the military for personal hobbies or for school?
So food is good. You have what's called food transformation, which is a great program. Yes, you are single in the dorm. And after you get to your base, after you're done with your job, you have a lot of personal time to do what you need to do.
Yep.
All right.
Weekends, depending on your shifts or what job you do. Yeah, lots of time.
All right, next one. Or did you mean that one?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Let's let him. We'll do the next one. We haven't heard from Captain Bowman, and so Major Lane was picking on him. Bowman. Dang it! I did it again. Bowman.
Come on.
All right. Well. All right. Let's see. Get him a hard one.
Yeah.
He seems ready.
Yeah.
I saw one down there. It was like. He's scrolling through the questions. So.
Yeah, we'll do this one.
All right. There you go.
Maybe you know this.
Are the questions on the AFOQT harder than the ASVAB or just different? That's a great one for him. All right.
I would say just different.
Okay, how so? In 30 seconds.
2 different assessments covering different, similar but different topics.
Okay.
There are different specialties in both sides. A lot of crossover, but the ASVAB's managed by the Department of Defense, so it's for all the branches, and then the Air Force officer qualifying test is specifically for Air Force officers. So if that kind of makes sense.
No. They're tailored
just
to
different
individual
offerings,
requirements. Sure. Perfect.
The captain's just smart. He's smarter than me. That AFOQT was way harder than the ASVAB.
Wait, but you've already done the ASVAB, though.
I've done the ASVAB and I've done the AFOQT.
Okay.
And the AFOQT is like, I think the hardest part about it is that the time limit. So you may have 100 math questions in 8 minutes to answer them all. It's just ridiculous like that. So for me, this is my personal opinion, Major Lane, with the Atlanta Public School Education, the AFOQT was harder.
There you go.
But they are different.
All right.
Right. Like the target audience is someone right out of high school for the ASVAB. For the most part, and then the officer test, you've got someone who's gone through their undergrad, for the most part, or at least part of it. And so yeah, that's a different life stage. So yeah, AFOQT is going to get you on the edge of your seat a little more, probably.
Sure. Alrighty, next question.
How efficient is the accelerated program to become an officer with an associate's degree?
Is there only one program?
Yeah, I'll take this one.
Okay.
Real quick. I guess
Major Lane
we need
on the background.
We need an officer recruiter.
So I'm not sure which program you're talking about, but two come to mind for me. So one, the Air Force has a program, and maybe our family readiness guest can speak to this a little bit more. But once you have your associate degree, I can't remember what the acronym stands for. It's like AUU to BCC or something along that, to where you can get your bachelor's degree all you would need is 60 credit hours. So you would take your associate's degree, most likely your community college or the Air Force associate's degree, and once you start your bachelor's degree program, they'll take all of those credits, and you only have to do 60 credits or 2 years to get your bachelor's. So that's one way to accelerate getting your bachelor's, which is what I took advantage of. But then in ROTC, they're depending on the year, depending on the funding, depending on the needs of the Air Force, they offer different programs to accelerate commissioning. So, for example, when I taught ROTC at the University of Georgia, go Dogs.
God dang, that's 4 in a row.
So when I taught there, we had a senior. How he did it, I think he was prior Army and had some military experience, but he came in as a senior and commission. But the most accelerated, or the one we do most often, or we did most often, was you come in with your associate's level degree. You'll start off as a sophomore level cadet, and then you would go through field training. And so basically you would skip that first year of ROTC. So you'll probably do it in like 3 years instead of 4. Again, rare cases we'll have somebody come in at a junior level where they only do 2 years, but you have to talk to that detachment commander to see what are they offering that fiscal year as far as accelerated. If you're going through OTS, you already have your degree, so that doesn't apply. And if you're going to the academy, there's no accelerated route. You gotta put in the work.
There you go. From the
Thanks
man
for
himself.
that.
Appreciate
also,
it.
I'm just gonna drink water on camera because when I tried to do it all quiet, I like gulped right in the microphone. I was like making all sorts of noise, so sorry.
All right, next question. Can I sign up for your contract to be a special recon? So SR, I think that's I don't know. Let's see.
That's Keating.
Sergeant Keating, we're coming to you, and I'm just not hitting that video. My finger floats, and then just.
Yeah, it wants to.
Yeah.
I'll get it right.
I'm going to be honest. I don't know the answer to that one. I think you can, but some of those special operations careers and the special warfare kind of areas, so like special recon, pararescue, some of them require you to do a 6-year contract because the schools are that much longer.
Takes so long, right?
So I don't know about special recon, but I know like pararescue, it's like 2.5 years of school. And somebody's going to quote me if that's wrong. That's just my speculation. I remember seeing it once, but yeah, I think that required a 6-year contract.
So chances are you probably will be looking at a 6-year contract, and you might do 4, but most likely 6. Best bet is to get a hold of a SR recruiter or a recruiter that's in your area and get them to ask specifically. And we might just have to send somebody from our moderator group to that comment and see if we can answer that directly. But pretty sure it's going to be 6 because the training it takes to get you up to speed to become operational is significantly longer.
Right.
So, all right, next question. And sir, I'm just going to let you decide, Major Lane, you can just decide when we're done doing questions because we are at showtime now, but I feel like we're on a pretty good roll here.
Copy. We'll do 10 more questions and then we're going to wrap it up.
Dang, okay.
So only another hour and a half. Just kidding. we'll be out of here. We'll do it fast. All right, let's go.
Scout's honor. How come we can't enlist with high blood pressure, but we can have it once we are enlisted? I think that's a recruiting question, maybe.
Because you get older, and as you get older, your body goes through changes, right? So, like, you can develop an issue, but you can't have it coming in. Right? Think of it like when you go to sell your car. If your car doesn't meet emissions when you sell it, you can't sell it. But if you sell it, it's eventually going to get to the point where it needs some work to meet emissions. So it can get to a point where that may be an issue. So you can't have the issue coming in, but if it develops once you're in, then it's addressed.
Yep.
Next question. For someone who got his bachelor, do he also have to get his CCAF? Yes, the CCAF is something that you'll have access to once you're in the military. You don't have to get it if you don't want to, though. You can choose not to. It's a little silly not to because it's free education.
Yes.
It's another certification that counts as Community College of the Air Force is an associate's degree, and it's recognized. So why wouldn't you get that? But you don't have to.
And there are certain ranks that you will need it, though. So I think unless they changed it to become a senior master sergeant, you have to have it.
I think that's correct. I think that's
Well,
correct.
the other thing, too, this person has a bachelor's degree. So if you have a bachelor's and you come in and list it, most likely you're gonna almost qualify for the CCAF
Right.
anyway.
Sure.
So the beauty of CCAF is that you go through your technical training school and you get so many college credit hours for that automatically. So you're automatically gonna get it from going through your technical school. And then most classes that people don't get are the ones you've already taken for your bachelor's degree.
Right.
It's your math, your you know, your
That's true.
English, that kind of stuff. So with your tech school and your 5 and 7 level training, you'll most likely just automatically get it with your other college credit hours.
Fair enough. Guess who did not come into the Air Force with a bachelor's?
So neither did I, but I didn't. I almost did. I qualified for my CCAF immediately when joining,
That's cool.
except that our tech school is a joint tech school
True.
and isn't
Qualify. It doesn't qualify for
it
the Air
doesn't
Force
qualify
stuff.
for the Air Force. So I had to go through ALS, Airman Leadership School, before I was awarded it. But once I graduated Airman Leadership School, it was automatic. I was awarded it. So
Tons and tons and tons of education opportunity stuff once you're in, and it's very important to the Air Force for education. So if education is a concern for you, Air Force is not a bad gig. You will have plenty of resources. All right, next question.
do you guys recruit as a nurse practitioner in the Air Force? Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
Next question.
We did a whole show on
Yes.
it. So if
We
you go
did.
to our recruiter YouTube channel,
Yep.
there's a show specifically on medical.
You can come in as that. You can come in and go to that. We need them.
Yep, 100%.
What else we got here? I do see the one question about the tattoo. That was that long one we were talking about with the answer. He
But
had a
it might be good
tattoo.
for the people.
Yeah, he had a tattoo behind his ear.
Is there any way to get a waiver for a tattoo behind the ear? It's slightly over an inch, not offensive in any way.
Yeah, and they answered it with a big long thing, but the short answer is there's always a waiver process, so you can talk to a recruiter about that, because they just changed the policy that you can have one back there now, an inch. So depending on what it is, you may be able to get a waiver.
Most likely. If you
yeah.
say it's not offensive, it depends on what it is. But yeah, if it's truly non offensive and it meets the criteria for the dress and appearance regulation, yes, absolutely you can get into the Air Force with a small tattoo that's less than an inch behind your ear.
Yeah.
Next question. What does it take to be a base commander other than being an officer? Whew. Okay. Well, let's see. I don't know. Okay, I was going to say, Captain, you're probably the closest that's in our guest list for it. Otherwise, I was going to pass over to Chief because he's probably had the most experience with him. So go for it, sir.
Well, I mean, any commander of anything, you're going to move your way up, one job at a time. And so any base commander will have been a squadron commander. They will have been a group commander. They'll have gone to a bunch of different schools along the way to prepare them. And so by the time you get to a base commander, you've done a ton of other jobs below that that have prepared you for that. So no one really jumps into a big job like that. It's really actually a kind of a smaller step from the job that they had previously, because they've done a ton of small steps throughout their whole career, kind of moving up the ranks in responsibility in their roles.
How long does it typically take?
What's that? How long could it take?
Yep.
I think it usually the colonel level is where you can take base command in, I don't know, 20 years. Is that right on, Dale? Or
I was going to say 18 to 20 is up there.
To add, Chief, on that?
No, nothing to add. I think you brought it correctly. You want to build those blocks, right? Because it's a great leadership opportunity. You're overseeing a whole base. You're overseeing a lot of different things. So you just have to have all that experience. And I would say you're exactly right. Like, it's going to be close to 18, 20 years. And also those folks are also going to be on a really higher leadership path after they've done that base commander job. So it's going to take a lot of experience and leadership opportunities to get there.
Thank you. Appreciate the input. All right, next question.
Is it true that the Air Force feels a certain way about prior service enlisting in the Air Force? Like the Air Force as a whole, or like it's more complicated? Because I know there is a special prior service program, but I personally know people who were, prior service Army that came into the Air Force. And as long as you come in with a good attitude and you don't treat it like it's easier or,
you don't disrespect it.
then
we do feel a certain kind of way.
come on over.
Absolutely. Happy to have you.
And you've brought over experience that we don't have because
Very
you were
true.
in another service to us. So
I've personally worked with guys who crossed over from other services, and
Mhm.
they were honestly kind of treated with even a little bit more respect because we knew we could learn something from them. You know, we all had very similar trainings, but this person had a specialty in whatever. You know, this specific one was he was a Marine, and or sorry, he is a Marine. I believe he's still a Marine.
Always a Marine, right?
But he had a whole bunch of physical training stuff that they do in you know, that all Marines get to do training in, and he brought that to the Air Force for us in our particular spot, and we all benefited from it. So it was very positive reception. He was very welcome. So
for sure. But yes, there is a different process for joining. Sorry, Wendy.
Just briefly, I was enlisted in the Army, got out, had my benefits to go to school, went to school, and came back in the Air Force as an officer, and I didn't have any problem transitioning.
Awesome.
Gotcha.
Was that a puppy in the background?
That was you for the comment taking.
Yeah.
Lightning round. Lightning
sorry,
round.
No,
All right.
lightning round. I'm sorry,
Next-
I just got
next
distracted.
question.
Shiny puppies. Currently at Keesler Air Force Base for tech school. Any recommendations on things to do?
Go south a little bit. There's water.
Go to your outdoor recreation center and see what opportunities are for you. And you can also your social media pages, their websites, their phone numbers. Give them a call, click on them, go in person. There's lots of avenues to find out what there is.
That's a fantastic
Marine
answer.
at Keesler is amazing. I caught flounder off. They've got piers out there. And
There you go.
I love fishing, and they've got boats that you can rent and go out. They've got that beautiful area there, and you go under the bridges. Amazing fishing, just fun in the sun.
Yeah, and Outdoor Rec loves their fishing programs.
Absolutely.
There you go, Randy.
Also, we should mention, I know it's lightning round, I'm sorry, but we should mention that they have a lot of special programs for first term or like single airmen. So, you know, there's trips that are open to everybody, but then there's trips that are specifically for maybe those single airmen, and it's a great way to get out and meet other people and then build those relationships too. So.
Three more questions. All right. What is the least years of contract allowed? I believe 4. Sergeant Keating, I'm going to fire you up on the screen here. The correct one. Is it 4? I believe it's 4 years is minimum contract for
Yes, sir.
enlisted.
4 years.
What's the minimum listed?
Yeah, we only have 2 contract lengths, so you can do a 4-year contract or a 6-year contract. That's it.
Boom. This guy understands lightning round. Thank you, sir.
I don't understand lightning round because I'm about to say, and then when you re-enlist, then you can change your things, but initial.
All right.
4 to
Okay,
6.
one more question. If you have a long tech school, for example, over a year long, is your family able to move out with you looking into a linguistics job? Actually, we're going to go back to Sergeant Keating to verify on this one because I'm pretty sure yes. What is the time limit for tech school where your family can go with you? Do you know off the top of your head?
So there's a lot of specifics to that, but I believe a certain requirement it has to be over 180 days before you even have that opportunity. Even then, it's still discouraged, and I think the reasoning that I got back on that was they didn't want you to have to move your family to be somewhere for 6 months before you finally moved again to your actual duty station.
Right.
Air Force obviously cares about the family, but don't want to uproot you a lot.
Sounds good. Last question. Oh, man. And we'll just let everybody do this one. What is the best prank you have played on another airman? And if you don't have a best prank on an airman story, you can go on coworker if you didn't serve. But I'm not sure if our guests have served or not. So, you want to go first?
Oh, I have to think about it.
That way you can set the bar for everybody.
No, I have to think about it. I can't go first.
Okay.
I have to think about it.
Okay. Here we go. All right, story time.
I came back from leave one time and had taken like little Dixie cups full of water, and they were all just neatly arranged all across everything in my office, the floor, the desk, everything. So it requires a lot of, juggling to get back into the office.
Yep. Nice. I've seen the Dixie cups with water one. That's pretty funny. All right, who's next?
I don't think
you don't have to share one if you don't want to, but
I don't think I've ever played a prank.
Share it. You can't fire it up like that.
Yeah, I got one. Please, anybody watching, don't do this. I don't recommend it, but I'm not gonna even tell what rank or when I did it. But so I was in a unit where they love to prank me, and I was trying to diet I was trying to go on a diet or whatever. And so I had this big bag of M&Ms. I know I shouldn't have been eating that on a diet, but I had it. And so I was just eating a little bit at a time. And so I remember I came in one day, and I'm like, I know I didn't eat this whole bag of M&Ms. Like, I just know I didn't. Well, for like 3 weeks straight, my coworker would sit at the empty desk that was next to me. And he had my M&Ms hidden in there, and he was eating them in front of me, and I just never paid attention. They finally told me. So I was like, okay, I got to get them back, because they clowned me for about 2-3 weeks or whatever. Oh, no. So then, so he went on leave to Germany. And I was this anti-terrorism, force protection, security manager doing additional duties. Boy. And so I worked well with OSI. I had some OSI buddies.
Oh, snap.
And so he went on leave to Germany. I talked to the OSI guys like, hey, my guy, he's doing this tour around Europe. When he get back, let's investigate. Let's fake like you're investigating him or whatever. Long story short, because it's a long story, but they brought him in. We had a camera on him. He was asking them questions like, why do you hate America and all this other kind of stuff.
No.
He was sweating bullets, freaking out. And, then we played, we played a prank on him. No. But that was the worst one. That was the worst prank we ever did. Then my commander stepped in and was like, hey, listen, all right, guys, the prank wars are over. Yeah. But we actually brought OSI in, had him investigate him as if he did something wrong or whatever. It was funny. It was a good time.
God,
man,
I feel like we should have left that one for last.
Jeez Louise.
Everybody else is gonna seem real simple.
So mine, I guess I can't think of anything in particular because I'm not really. People prank me all the time. I just am easy to prank, but I don't do it to people very often. So I would say the only thing that we really did is back in the day, people would leave their cards in their computer, their CAC, and you're not supposed to do that. So don't do it now. But back in the day, people would always leave it in their computer. And so people would, like, if it was still open and their email was up, you'd send an email to the whole unit saying, like, donuts on me, everybody. Or, like, I got this. Or, and so then that was, like, silly stuff.
And then you would come back and take a little piece of Scotch tape and put it over the important bit to where you couldn't get it to work again. Now they're out of their email for an hour.
Yep. Or I had somebody do that to I just hit my mic, to my mouse. The bottom of the mouse where it's like so that there's tape on it, and then you're like, why is my computer not working? Yeah. But again, people do that to me. I didn't do that to them. So yeah, I don't know.
Nice.
The outdoor rec people don't have any pranks. Come on.
They're like,
know
we've
y'all
been
have
quietly
pranks.
discussing what we are not going
like,
to share
what
with the
can
group.
we admit?
Was OSI involved? That's all I want to know.
Is the statute of limitations isn't over yet? Is that why you guys are quiet?
I had a failed prank attempt.
Oh, no.
Yes.
Prior to my current position, I was working at the military resort in Germany, the Edelweiss. And as part of that position, I got to stay at the resort. And we had kind of a roommate shenanigans, whatnot, people living across the hall. And I think I tried to take a CPR dummy mask and hide it in my friend's fridge. So there would be a fake there, but it just didn't really go well, and then that face ended up living in my room for the rest of my stay.
Yep.
Yeah. Noble.
Could have been good.
Nice.
Wendy,
only one story from Outdoor Rec. He's like,
no.
I'm gonna bow out gently and then just gracefully maintain some here.
I'm in a temp position. I don't want to. Oh, goodness.
Alrighty.
All right. We should put a disclaimer, though. Don't be pranking people.
True.
Don't.
And all of this happened at off-duty time, for sure.
Sometimes it's funny. Usually it's not.
Yeah.
Usually it goes terribly. So.
Well, if you did not make the dinger for the embarrassing stories or the pranks, sorry, but maybe we'll catch you next time. We have got to wrap it. We are past 3:45 here in the Central Time Zone, and we have got to let our guests go. That being said, thank you very, very much to Outdoor Rec, you guys out there. We really appreciate you. Thank you, Mr. Phil Sell and Miss Cole, and thank you to Captain Bauman. Got it.
Bauman.
Do I get the approval nod? Okay, we did go away from you guys, so I was half expecting they'd be gone. And to and also to Sergeant Keating from the background, helping us out, popping up, answering our recruiting questions. Thank you guys so very much.
And Major Lane in the background.
And Major Lane in the
Thank
background.
you.
We got to get into that lower third, and I got to get that button back.
Yep.
I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on pushing buttons with this thing and make sure that I line them up. Maybe next time I'll be putting them where they belong. But thank you guys so much for joining us. We really appreciate all of the expertise that you bring. And I hope everyone out there watching the show has enjoyed and has taken something from these answers. Don't forget, we've got another show in 2 weeks from today. So 2 weeks Tuesday, 2 o'clock. I'm getting waved at from over the top of the monitor. So make sure to do the things at the bottom of the screen. You got the QR code, you got airforce.com, Aim High app. Right, for the questions that we were not able to get to and the questions that we were not able to let our moderators get to. You guys are bringing in more and more and more questions. So we are going to start stepping up how we address those questions, because obviously we need to figure out a way to answer more of them. So thanks for tuning in. We will see you guys in 2 weeks, Tuesday, 2 o'clock. What is the next show? It is Air Force Reserves.
Ooh.
So we will see you then. Air Force Reserves, we're out.
Bye.
We hope that you enjoyed this episode of The Back and Forth, brought to you by Headquarters Air Force Recruiting Service. It is a privilege for us to bring you all the information and insider insight into the exciting world of the United States Air Force. Remember, this show is all about you. We want to make sure we're providing you information and answers you need to make an informed decision about your future. So make sure to join us every other Tuesday with your questions, your feedback, and any ideas you have for future episodes. We are all ears. Don't forget to subscribe to our social media channels for even more exciting content. And also visit airforce.com for all the latest information on serving as a Total Force Airman. And with that, until next time, aim high.